When asked what makes for a good manga, people might first look at the story, the concepts, or even the power system. However, one major aspect that I think makes a story really special is within the characters and how those characters can connect with an audience. In today's video, I want to talk about how you can craft a perfect character from start to finish and how you can apply these techniques to turn your manga into a masterpiece. Now, my first tip for creating amazing characters is to give your character a personal goal. Likely in your manga, you'll have many interesting characters, and every character should have their own personal goal, dream, or a thing that they want to achieve in your story. However, one really interesting thing to do is that when you give any character in your story a personal goal, that goal should in some way tie into the main goal of the story. For example, maybe your character has a personal goal of becoming a musician. However, the reason why they can't become a musician now is because maybe the main villain of the story has banned all music from the land of your manga. So the only way for your character to really become a musician is for the main story goal to be fulfilled. And in that way, even if you aren't show your character directly in your story, they are still striving towards something in your book, and that brings them to life, and it makes it more interesting when you reveal them in your story. My second tip is give your character an internal and external conflict. So basically, the external conflict is what your character has to deal with outside of themselves. So it may be arguments, it may be difficult characters, it could be the villain of the story, it could just be difficult situations. Now, the internal conflict is the problems that your character faces within themselves, and this is a really important aspect to a character's development. You will notice that in every really amazingly written character, they will always have an internal conflict. There'll always be something inside themselves that is causing them to maybe doubt or fear or cause problems for themselves just from self-sabotaging their own decisions. So with every character, consider what internal and external conflicts might affect them in their lives, because this makes them more interesting and detailed as characters, and I think it's a really important aspect to character creation. My third tip is show how your characters approach their problems. Every character will have a unique way of approaching problems, and this reveals a lot about your character's personality. Are they the type of character who really writes down what they want to do first before they approach the problem? Are they the kind of character who might go head first into the problem without really thinking it through first? Or maybe they're the kind of character that really likes to think about every possible scenario before going in. Considering how your character would approach their problem solving is a good way to think about how you can further develop your characters in your own mind. My fourth tip is let their personality affect their design. As I mentioned earlier, a character's personality can affect a lot of the ways they live their daily lives. However, their personality can also affect the way they dress. A character who likes to run around a lot and is more sporty might wear more looser clothing that can help them follow their interests. A character with a cheerful and upbeat personality might prefer to wear clothes that are in brighter colors and clothing that really suits their personality. So when you're designing a character, also think about how their personality might affect their design and how you can design an outfit that you think not only is appealing to your audience, but is also appealing to your character, and an outfit that your character would enjoy with their personality. My fifth tip is make their design suit the world around them. When you're creating any type of character, consider how their outfit is and how their outfit reflects the world around them. You might come up with a really cool design for their outfit, but if it doesn't exactly suit the world around them, it might not be a really realistic character design. The best character designs are ones that look really appealing but also suit the world around them and make sense for what your character does in their day-to-day lives. For example, if your character was in a post-apocalyptic world, they might need to carry around supplies with them or wear clothes that are easy to move around in. So really consider if your character's outfits really suit what they do in their daily lives and suits the world around them. My sixth tip is show how their backstory affects your characters now. In my opinion, one of the most important aspects to a character's creation is actually their backstory. Where your character was in the past really affects who they are now. And so to create a good character in the current moments of your book or your current moments with creating your OC, it's important to think about how their history affects them in the current moments. So for one example, if your character had to go through a lot of hardship and they had to deal with a lot of things on their own, in the current stages of your book, they might be the kind of character that takes a long time to trust the people around them. They might be the kind of person that is really self-reliant and they only want to rely on themselves to get things done. So really consider what your character had to experience in their backstory, whether it be positive and negative events. Consider how those events may affect them now as characters. My seventh tip is when designing your characters, consider what aesthetics suit them the best. I think a really great way to make character design a lot easier is to consider aesthetics when you are choosing the designs. There are plenty of different types of aesthetics out there. You can choose one main aesthetic or multiple aesthetics and choose a combination of them to try and consider what outfits might suit your character the best. I think it's a really great way to gain more ideas and inspiration for character outfits, so I highly recommend that if you're feeling stuck on your character design and you're not really sure what type of character they should be, consider looking at aesthetic lists and choosing aesthetics that you think might suit your character's personality and story the best. My 8th tip is give your character a reason to take action. Give your character something to fight for in order to make them more interesting as characters. So we've already discussed their goals and their personal goals and what they really do in their day-to-day lives, but another really important thing to think about is the reason behind their actions. A character wants to write a book, for example. Maybe their motivation behind it is that they've always wanted to write a book. It's been something they've dreamed of ever since they were a child. And so that is their main motivation. That is something to fight for. Always ensure that your manga character has something to fight for. Give them a reason to pursue their goals. And the stronger the reason you give your characters, the more interesting that character will be when they finally do accomplish those goals. My 9th tip is give every character a unique mannerism, habit, or trait. In this way, even from a glance, your audience can see the differences in your characters, even if they're just subtle differences. So for example, by mannerisms, your character might be very formal in their speech, or maybe your character likes to move their hands when they talk. By habits, maybe your character has a habit of biting their nails when they're nervous, or your character might have a habit of pacing around or overthinking things. So while your characters should have multiple traits and multiple aspects to their personality, consider if you can categorize your characters and give them each their own unique mannerisms, habits, and traits. And this is a good way to really differentiate your characters from each other and to really show those differences on the surface. My 10th tip for manga character creation is make your characters believable. In order to make your characters believable, it's important that you as the author feel like you can relate to your characters. In order to make sure your character is believable, you need to consider if your character's actions or responses are a response that a real person might respond with. For example, if there was a really big battle coming up and your character is forced to fight in this battle, your character might naturally be a little bit reluctant. If your character was like Saitama, for example, from One Punch Man, who was really strong and powerful, when faced with a really difficult battle, Saitama probably would have a really easygoing approach to it. He probably would be quite confident in his abilities because he has already dealt with difficulties in the past and he knows he can overcome them. But if your character is a character who hasn't really had much training and is approached with a situation like that, your character would probably be really scared or quite nervous about having to go through that kind of experience. My 11th tip is show your character's personality in motion. One amazing aspect of creating a manga or a novel is the fact that you're able to show your character's emotion beyond the page. And while this might seem like something simple at first, showing your character's emotion is a good way to be able to also show who they are as a character. I think a good example of this is in the Toradora opening when you see all the characters walking and they all walk in different ways and each way they walk reveals something different about their character. So this is what I really mean in this tip. Every character should move in various ways and each way your character moves should reveal something different in their personality. My 12th tip is ensure your character stands out in silhouette form. A good way to tell if your character design is good is to turn your character into a silhouette and consider if your character still stands out if they are in a black and white form. If your character looks like a blob in silhouette form, then your character design might not be very appealing. The truth is when we glance at a character design, we naturally take in the outline of that character. You'll notice that the best character designs have very clear and easily understandable silhouettes, and so you need to take this approach with your own character designs as well. When your character is turned into a silhouette, think about how you can add certain aspects to make them more easily understandable. Maybe you could change their hairstyle to make them stand out more in silhouette form. Maybe you could give them a certain accessory that really makes them stand out. Maybe their clothing could change a little bit, that changes the shape of that character. So whichever it is, think about how you can change the shape of your character to make them stand out in a black and white image. My 13th tip is use the color wheel to choose effective colors. If you're unsure on how to color your character and choose the right colors to really make them stand out in their design, using a color wheel is a good way to choose colors that work well together. Colors opposite each other on the color wheel are usually very bold when put together. Triadic color schemes can also do this, which are colors that are evenly spaced in 3 on the color wheel. Color Colours beside each other can look more pleasing to the eye, so if you want your characters to look aesthetically pleasing, I'd recommend choosing colours that are directly beside each other on the wheel. Colours in the same hue but in different shades can also look very appealing when put together. Colours can also have different psychological meanings. There are many different colour meanings out there, and I recommend you look up the different colour meanings online, or you consider how you feel when you look at a certain colour, and you can use that approach when designing your characters. My 14th tip is consider what you like in already existing characters. There are so many amazing characters out there, and a good way to get inspiration for your own character creations is to think about what you like in already existing characters. You might look at one character and you might think, I really like that type of hairstyle. Or you might like the way another character dresses. You might like the way another character acts and shows their personality. So a good way to consider what you can do for a new character is to look at the things you already like in already existing characters and trying to combine those aspects into creating a new character. My 15th tip is show how a character changes over the story. Every character should grow with the story, and this is no exception for any character in your book. What I highly recommend you do is you have a starting point for your character and a middle point and then the end goal for your character, what the character is like at the end of your book. By having realistic character growth, it makes your character more interesting over the book. For example, maybe at the beginning your character is very shy and they're afraid of expressing themselves and expressing things they like. Over the course of the story around the middle of the book, maybe they learn something that can really help them to learn that it's okay to express themselves and to be the person that they want to be. And then maybe by the end of the story, they have grown into a much more confident character. So this same approach can be applied to any character. And you'll notice that some of the best characters in anime and manga have really realistic and understandable character growth. Character growth can help your characters be more realistic in the long run, and it can make it more interesting for your audience to read about that character and see how your character has developed over the course of your book. Thank you so much for watching my video today, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know what kind of characters you're creating because I really love to hear about them. Feel free to chat with me on any of my social media at @MidnightCross because I always enjoy hearing about the projects that you're creating.